Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Missouri Rhino Watch. I am your host, Joshua Lehman, with my bearded muse, Mr. Brett O'Rear.
Josh, we are on the air.
We are on the air, and we have an exceptional show tonight. I was going to say excellent, but exceptional sounds
Exceptional is better.
Exceptional show tonight because we have...
Exceptional show with an excellent guest.
Perfect. This is why we're a good team. Exceptional show with an excellent guest. His name is Mr. John Putnam. Woo!
Snaps.
Oh.
Snaps. I like it.
I knew he was bringing some flavor here tonight. So what is awesome about this is it's going to be a fully educational show. The goal is to teach everybody about the importance, first of all, what a committee is.
Yep.
Right?
Very important.
Central committee, precinct committee, central committee, precinct committee man, committee woman, what that is, what the importance of that is, what is the structure of our political party, not just here in Missouri, but all over the nation, and why it's so important for us to get involved, and how, once we get involved, we can actually implement the right principles and different initiatives to take our Republican Party back, and by that, take back our nation. So, Mr. Putnam, very excited to have you here tonight, and we are looking forward to the wonderful conversation, the education, and hopefully a couple laughs.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, the way that we're going to do it, as you guys can see, Mr. O'Rear has a marker.
I have a marker.
And he has a big piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal here is to build out the structure of the precincts, or the organizational structure of the parties themselves, so that it's something that we can stay on track with, obviously, but so that we have a visual for everybody. I did a video a couple of days ago just trying to put together the understanding with like a 2-minute call to action, but this is going to be where we unpack the substance, the meat of everything, because there's so much more to talk about. There's so much more in-depth things to be aware of, understand the importance, the history of it. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. Now, before we start, by recommendation of Mr. John Putnam, we are going to do a what, why, when, where, who. So we have some action items so that you, when you leave here, you don't say, I left and I don't know where to start, right?
And they don't have to rewind it and watch us again.
Maybe we shouldn't do it then.
Oh. So you want them to watch us again?
Maybe.
Okay.
Trying to get our...
I guarantee you they'll have to watch it again.
They'll have to watch it again.
Good. That's a guarantee.
This is why we had him on, really.
This is the fog of war.
Oh,
excellent.
I've heard that before.
Excellent. He's not messing around.
He's not messing around. So what are we talking about? Committee person, committee man, committee woman in your central precinct committee. Some places, in here in Missouri, it's a county. I think it's Maryland or Massachusetts and Connecticut. They're towns. I believe they're townships. Township committees. But either way, it is the base level of your specific. You become the. Would it be fair to say that they become the first level of representation of the party for their people in their locale?
Well, actually, anyone who votes might be the first level of representation.
Fair, very fair.
But what people don't understand is that to be a voter does not give you any real power within the Republican or Democrat apparatus, the organizational structure. Those positions are held by people who are either elected or appointed to the precinct, ward, township. Down south they call them parishes, but these are the smallest divisions of people who actually vote in the organization. I like to think of them as the stockholders of a corporation, because they actually have a say in who the leaders are, what policies will be pursued, and they can hold people accountable up the organization chart. The average voter cannot do that.
That's awesome. That's a really good. See what I said? It's going to be unpacked.
Yeah.
I would have just said first level representation, and you absolutely gave us a wonderful breakdown of that. So the what, that is what the what is, committee person, and the why, so that we can reclaim our Republican Party, and by that reclaiming our sovereign rights and our nation. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Absolutely. The precinct position is the first position in the party. It's the ground. It's the true grassroots position in the party that can hold the leadership accountable. In fact, let me read what Thomas Jefferson said about the precinct position in 1816. He wrote a letter, and he said, "The article nearest my heart is the division of counties into wards." And today, as we've mentioned, precincts, townships, parishes, etc. Should they, America's leaders, become corrupt and perverted, the division into wards constituting the people enables them by that organization to crush regularly and peaceably the usurpations of their unfaithful agents, and rescues them from the dreadful necessity of doing it insurrectionally.
You hear that?
A word that's been thrown around quite a bit
everywhere.
lately.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
In this way, we shall secure the continuance of purity in our government by the salutary, peaceable, and regular control of the people.
I love that. That's a powerful statement. It's a powerful statement that may not even mean anything to in a sense if I had heard it outside of where we're at now, and understanding that, oh my gosh, this could be us. Because for so long, right, like amazing statements like that, they didn't resonate as much because it seems so historical. But that is like a living statement that is coming to fruition right now, and that's the whole reason we're having this show, is to crush regularly and peaceably those perverted and corrupt powers in government. And if anybody thinks they're not perverted and corrupt, I mean, I think that's a very small minority of anybody.
Correct.
And that's what should be motivational to everybody out here watching this show, is this is giving us the ability to do something. We've all been saying it for so long. Me and Brett, all of this came about because of Dan Schultz getting on Bannon, right? And saying, get involved. There's a committee, there's a precinct. And I just immediately, I was like, all right, well, fine. I'll Google it, found it. We started showing up to the meetings, me and Brett and my friend Kyle, and getting more and more involved. And then what's amazing is there's probably like 10 other people who we've made an alliance with. Not everybody's a member of the committee, but they still show up and they still have a voice and an influence of the whole committee as a whole. And then we have our own...
and it's blown up.
It really has.
There's a lot of people now showing up to those committees.
People are getting engaged.
It's supposed to be a public meeting.
Yes.
But it's and it is publicized somewhat on a Facebook page somewhere, or a committee website, but certainly not well known where these meetings are.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Well, and I've noticed too, I've helped a lot of people look up, like they'll message me and be like, how do I do this? And instead of just saying, look it up, I try and look it up real quick. Like, where are you at? Try and look it up and send them a link to something. And a lot of the times it's something in like the digital yellow pages, right? It's the wildest thing that it's not that publicized. Thank God for Jim Rooney. He was our old committee man, and our chair. And he really held that thing together, and of course a lot of other good patriots that are still there, but you know, he was running the website, he was doing everything, and I reached out to him and he got back to me as soon as he could, and he invited us in, and he was very open and great. Not everybody's going to be like that, obviously, but he was very warm, very welcoming. He cared about that party, he cared about this nation, and he brought us in and started, you know, really just kind of just by paying attention and listening and getting the lay of the land. He had a lot of historical stuff he would reference and so on. But then we started realizing, you know, how can we get involved? And this is what, you know, media was something, that's what we do, that's what was missing. But it was coming to those meetings, making that call to action, getting involved in our local area to know what's going on where we are, so that we could then go out and affect change. And that's what's so awesome now, is that's the power that everybody has if they simply go out and get involved immediately. They don't hesitate. They go out. They file to get on the ballot. Most of them are going to run unopposed. We still have, I don't know, half of our seats unfilled, and so it's like, it's just such an amazing thing to finally have something to do instead of just talking about it all the time.
Yeah, this has been out there. I got started in 1984.
Right.
Some folks in my county, Jasper County, down in southwest Missouri, came to my wife actually in 1984 and said, we don't have a woman in from this precinct on. And my dad was close to the county chairman, and they recruited her. And then the next year, the man dropped off. And so we got on and found most Republicans, especially on the Republican side, I'm not as familiar with the Democrat Party, but on the Republican side, so many people are just out working. They're going to their kids' age group sports. Mm-hmm. They're doing all this stuff, and they tend to vote in November, hopefully also in the August primary. But they tend to vote, and then they tend to go back to work mm-hmm. and back to raising their family and their church life and so forth. And so not much gets. There's not a great awareness of what should happen in between elections.
Right.
And then we come up and find half the seats are empty, and a few guys like Mr. Rooney were carrying the load because they had a little better perspective on what
right.
the importance of it. But there has been a wake up, a huge wake up.
Yes, sir.
And it's bigger than just the gas price.
Yeah.
But certainly every time people go to the gas pump now, they're starting to say, can't we do something?
Right.
Mm-hmm. More than just call our legislator and render an opinion for or against the bill.
Right. Right.
If that's all you do, then I call these people tally marks in the Republican Party. But you can increase that influence 100-fold if you get on the county committee, and then you actually have voting power to do stuff. And pretty soon, when you leave your opinion, the legislator ends up calling you back and talking to you face to face.
This is absolutely true, because one thing that I found that really, I've become a believer. I started because I was fed up enough to do something, and then I started becoming a believer through the actions. Where I remember I went to the Women's Federation. I always mess this up.
Yeah,
Women's Federated Republican.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, Miss Nancy.
Yeah. Have your hide.
Missouri Republican Women's Federation. I got it.
Yeah,
I got
it. Get it.
She'll let me know if I didn't.
It's all the right words.
Right,
Maybe not in the right order.
That wonderful organization ran by Nancy Felix in Platte County. But I went there, and it was in a park. It was Platte Ridge Park, and it was, kind of like a potluck barbecue thing, which was great. There was a lot of people there, but what's crazy is our sheriff was there, our state senator was there, a bunch of different, multiple House representatives from the state, and I'm like, they come here? Like, it's so local. It blew my mind how local it actually is. Mm-hmm. And then it also made me realize that that's the base. Like, that is truly the base. And the people there, most of the people there, were senior citizen age, and they were involved. But then, like, there's my generation, and all of those outside of that weren't there, that had no idea what was going on. And we have these people here. So we were like, we have access. Not only will they call you back, you get access to these people because they end up coming to your committee meetings. They have to answer to you. Then when they need funding, when they need, whatever the case may be, you also have the power to censure them. If they like Dave Schatz gone off the rail with his gas tax Schatz. Yeah. And, we censured him after somebody, I forget the county that did it. First county did it. Then Jackson County, bunch of rebel rousers.
Yep.
They did it.
Good
and
people.
Then we did it. And it was like, after I remember voting for it, and I was just like, that was awesome. We just did something. We made a public statement that we will never support this guy again, whether he runs for a state elected position or an appointed position or a national, which he's running for Senate now, Right. He's in the other category. He's polling so low. But that was an amazing revelation to understand that the people that go and make our legislation, that do the things that they do and affect us, literally are in our backyard all the time. We just didn't know these meetings are going on because we weren't a part of them.
One of the highlights of my experience serving on the Jasper County Republican Central Committee, after about 20 years, I became county chairman. And I was listening to the radio, I think about 2002 or 3. President George W. Bush had a amnesty bill that he was putting forward, trying to get amnesty for a whole new bunch of people like Reagan had done back in the late 80s.
86, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. And the news report I heard said Senator Kit Bond was going to be voting for Bush's amnesty bill. And I got a little upset. And I called the committee together, and I wrote a resolution saying that we didn't want that to happen. We thought these people should come in through the normal immigration process. And
legal immigration process.
Right.
Yeah, the legal immigration process.
AKA normal.
And so I put this resolution before the committee, and the committee passed it about 70-4, something like that.
Wow.
And so I put out a press release. I sent it to every other county chairman in the state, and several other counties passed it. And Senator Kit Bond's chief of staff was on my phone in 2 days wanting to know what in the world was I doing.
Mm-hmm.
He changed his vote. He got so much blowback.
Excellent.
And that that started with me getting involved at the precinct level,
right,
and moving up the organization and becoming an active member, rather than just a voter.
Well, that's what we're learning now, like the power of the pen, right? I mean, that's basically what that was, is when you make a resolution, you put a statement down, and then you get the votes to back it, and then more votes to back it. I mean, and that's a powerful way of delivering a tangible statement to somebody about what you don't agree with or do agree with, and then having the effectiveness to make a change. We saw it. I mean, this is what's so crazy is, like, with what we were doing with, Senator Moon when he lost his committee, everybody, freaked out and started calling Dave Schatz, and Dave Schatz removed him from his committee, and then I think within a week had to reinstate him.
I hadn't heard that.
Oh, yeah. He got such blowback from the people who were so upset that he had to reinstate him, which is funny because the whole reason Schatz got rid of him is said, oh, he's making a mockery of the Senate floor, and then you put him back. So obviously what you said wasn't true, right? He just was trying to take a cheap shot at Moon because Moon stood in the gap for so many things. But the point I'm trying to make is that if random people calling, which there was enough, would do that, imagine if we have a unified committee voice. Yes. Not just one committee, but like all of these other committees making a statement,
right, and
standing on that statement. And it's true. I called different senators a lot of different times, but before I was a committee man and I wasn't saying it, they would be like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then I call and I'm like, I'm on the Platte County committee, right? I'm a committee man, and we're pissed off about this. Oh, what's your name, sir?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your phone number? We'll make sure to get right back to you. And they did.
Yeah.
They did. And
now it carries some weight.
It does. And it's like, it's been something that's been hidden from us. You talked about before, like, you got on in 84 and it took you 10 years to figure out what was going on because it was so well hidden or just not well publicized. Tell us about that.
Well, back in the day, they didn't even give us, the committee members, a copy of the bylaws. We didn't even know how the organization was run. My wife was so frustrated, she finally, we were homeschooling a couple of kids at the time, and she wanted to teach them how the process worked, and she drew an organizational chart. We never found one anywhere in any civics book, or you can get some information in Missouri out of the what used to be called the Blue Book or the official Missouri Manual. You can get a list of who the voting members are of the various committees and who the elected leaders are of the party. But to try to sort all that information out, just wasn't there, and so we made it a point as we got more invested in the committee to try to make the committee transparent, to try to and we gave people a job description when they first got elected. Maybe we should. I'm sure people are wondering. We got off our list a little bit about how you get in this position.
Yes.
It's a ballot elected position at every other year in the August primary. It should be on the ballot. Often it's not, because if no one files or only one person files, it doesn't show up on the ballot.
Some nothing to vote for,
kind soul was interested in saving the county money by not having to print a separate ballot for every precinct. And so if only one person filed, which only happened about half the time, it's not even on the ballot. So for 40 years or more, people have gone to the primary election and never seen this race on the ballot unless two people run. And then it's a contested election, and the law requires it to be on the ballot and actually be voted. But when people get elected in August, they need to know what to do. When we first walked in, we had no idea what to do.
Right.
And it was a reorganizational meeting based on some rules that somebody had written. Of course, the chairman kept them very close to his vest. He handed them out the day of the meeting or the night of the meeting, and so the new people had no idea what was going on, and then most of us were not fresh up on Robert's Rules of Order and how that works, and so it took us several years to get used to how it works, and then to find out some of the tricks that can be used to stay to keep the power of the office as long as you want it, instead of really inviting people to come in and participate readily.
Yeah. So, and on that note, like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to hear more about this. See that? You've got me trained, bro. I don't even have to look at it. See? But seriously, because we were talking to Mr. Putnam, and we talked about we're gonna have him on more during the year, because that reorganization and that kind of stuff is going to happen this year. So the what is committee man or committee woman, committee person, right? The why is to reclaim the GOP. The when is right now. You're going Tuesday to file. I filed last Wednesday or Tuesday. And everybody needs to go. You need to go. You need to put your name down.
Walk them through your process.
Yeah.
Where did you have to go?
So this is exactly what I did. I got online and I Googled Platte County elections, okay? And because it could be, in some places it's election supervisor, some places it's the clerk, some places it's the board of elections. In our county, it happened to be the board of elections. So what you do is you Google it, that's the start, or DuckDuckGo it or whatever, find it, right? And then call and ask them, hey, I'm looking to file as a committee person in my precinct. And is this the place to do it? If it's not, they'll tell you where the place to do it is, right? So that's the first step to getting on and searching that information.
And just this week, I had somebody go to the wrong office, and he was misinformed.
Right.
Made a long trip, and then Jackson County, the Board of Elections office and the county clerk's office are in different parts of town, I guess.
Right.
So he was a little frustrated.
Yeah, and you just take the initiative to call. Once you call, tell them what you're looking to do. I'm looking to file as committee person for my precinct. They will either say that's not here, or okay, that's great. When you're going to come up, you go up there. Right, you take your ID, and in my county there is no filing fee. I don't know if that's by county or not, but I think
yes, that's a decision by
it's
county.
A decision by county. From what I understand, most places don't charge a filing fee. If
smaller counties don't.
Right. If so, it's I don't think it's that significant. Regardless, it's important.
$25 is the highest I've heard.
Yeah. Okay. So $25 max. Take your ID. Go down there, and what we did is when I went in, the lady was incredibly friendly and helpful. She said, awesome, super excited for you to come in here and want to be involved. Come back here, let's look at the map, see exactly where you're at. And they traced it down and said, okay, you're in 13-4. I think that's where it was. Anyways, I got on the right. I promise I got on the right precinct.
Yeah.
But
We'll
they
find
tell you
out.
where you are, and then she filled out the form for me. I mean, with all this, I filled out my name and everything, but she filled out all the details to make sure it was right. Took me through the process, raised my hand, and did the little oath saying that everything I put on there was true. And I was filed.
How long did it take you? 5 minutes?
10
10?
minutes, because I also talked, because I
Mhm.
like to do that.
You talk.
And I also signed up to be an election judge. Did you know they'll pay you $125 to be an election judge?
Whoa.
$125.
Oh.
Yeah, had no idea. That's something we'll
Buys
talk
a
about.
lot
at
of
the
soda
end, too.
pop.
Yeah, well, $125 for the day. Yes, you have to be there at 5 a.m. and yes, you stay till 7 p.m. But I mean, now knowing what we're battling, I think it's an honorable thing. I was going to do it for free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's icing on the cake to be like, hey, I'm going to pay you some money. And they do training. They pay you $25 for the training too, right? And so it's like there's money allotted. And you know what the lady told me? She said, I'm so glad that somebody from this area came down because normally we don't get anyone. And what they have to do is they have to have equal representation of Democrat, Republican. But if a Republican doesn't show up, they just get somebody else, and that person can be whatever affiliation and say, well, I'll do the Republican job.
Yeah.
And we have to show up to our polls.
Happens all the time, especially in a county that is heavily Republican or Democrat. It's difficult to get the bipartisan nature of the job fulfilled, and
Right.
there are a lot of people willing to help. In my county, which is heavily Republican, we have a lot of Republicans doing the Democrat election judge, and that's not a good thing.
Right.
Every person on the ballot ought to be able to make sure that their interest is protected. And I did want to highlight something that sometimes people, in fact, Tuesday night when I was speaking on this subject, a woman came up to me and said, she said, "Oh, I've already signed up." And I said, "Okay, well, tell me just exactly what did you sign up for?" She said, "I signed up to be an election judge in my precinct." Well, she heard the word precinct and thought that it was precinct committee woman.
Right.
And I ended up explaining to her that it's actually the precinct, one of the job descriptions of the precinct committee man is to help recruit a man and woman, or a judge from their party to be the election judge. Mm-hmm. It's a totally separate function.
Correct.
You can do both. They're not mutually exclusive.
I'm doing both.
But even if you're an election judge, that doesn't give you a vote in the Republican Party committee organization.
Agreed. Yeah, the election judge is to make sure basically that the election process is done properly. There's also since we're on this real quick, because this is easy to go over. There's a poll worker, right? And that's just kind of volunteering to do whatever needs to be done underneath the specifics. There's election judge. Mm-hmm. Which takes the IDs, makes sure everything is right, and so on. There's an election supervisor judge, but that's like just a higher role, I guess, in that same concept. And then there's challengers, but in order to be a challenger, you actually have to go through your committee.
Yes,
you
that's
have to
appointed
be
by the county chairman.
Correct.
Sometimes the word poll watcher is put in there, or poll challenger.
Right.
But a poll challenger is allowed to sit, a designated poll challenger is allowed to sit in the election process and watch to make sure that his party's interests for a legal election are monitored and mentioned if they see something irregular.
Right. And we have the April 5th election coming up. I don't know, like if they don't have people and you go and sign up, they'll probably still use you. I don't think it's too late from what the lady was telling me. Then we have the primaries, and then we have the general election. So there's work to be done through this. If you don't make the April one, fine, you still need to go and do this. But I can't stress enough that people go to your election authority, call first, figure out where you need to go, and while you're there, sign up to be a precinct committee member, committee person, and then also be an election judge, right? I mean, go ahead and put your name down to get involved, to do those kind of things. And then also through Missouri Rhino Watch, what we want to do with our Missouri Rhino Watch channel is we want to turn that into a centralized feed during the elections. So when we see any shenanigans going on, everybody's got your phone,
Mm-hmm.
You can take pictures. You can do a quick video. You can put a text message in, hey, this madness is happening at such and such precinct in this said county, and we need to make sure we keep record of it. Now we have a place where, we've got 518 or something like that people in now, which is awesome. The more people that we have come in there, that's just more eyes on what's happening, and we can have a centralized location where everything that's going down, we have the ability to get into it immediately. Because instead of waiting now, we're going to have processes. Instead of waiting now to say, this person came in and had to do a provisional ballot because it says they've already voted, right? We report that to the sheriff then. We don't wait. We report that issue immediately, and we go through this process, and then we can document it. This is the way, instead of, we kind of shifted from election integrity this year because we're not getting anything passed because we have rhinos, in the seat, or in the Senate and the House. But we're going into election protection. Yep. Where we are the boots on the ground. We're going to come up with a plan. We're going to pay attention as the citizens and protect it so we can get the right people elected and then move into legislating what needs to change.
That reminds me of another way to illustrate how the precinct position plays into the position of the Republican Party. There's a series of reorganizational meetings after each primary election. I don't think we've mentioned my website yet, but it's called putnamspatriots.com.
PutnamPatriots.com. It is in the link description. It's in the description below, correct? Sam is amazing. Of course it is.
Okay. Putnam's, plural, or possessive, but no apostrophe, obviously. Patriots. Right. In the URL format, and then there's a tab called Precinct Patriots, and if some of our listeners will take the challenge to file on the ballot, and we'll get into later on in maybe another show how to win an election if you're challenged. Mm-hmm. But whoever's elected then on August 3rd, is that the primary coming up, I think, second or third?
Yes, sir.
This time. On the 15th, and these dates are in my website, the county organization reorganizes. That means they elect a chairman, a vice chairman, a treasurer, and a secretary. The chairman and vice chairman then have a vote in the next level up of the organization. In this case, most of that is channeled toward the senatorial district committee that has a chairman and vice chairman, who in turn have a voting spot in the state committee, which is made up of 34 senatorial districts, a man and a woman, so there's approximately 68 people on the state committee,
right?
And they in turn elect officers, the chairman of which is on the national committee. Now there's also a national committee man and a national committee woman. Mm-hmm. In Missouri, they're selected at the state convention, not at the state committee level, but it varies state to state. So that puts there's 56 states and protectorates that have 3 spots on the Republican National Committee. Mm-hmm. I'm laboring this a little bit.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Because the National Committee currently has $80 million in the coffers, and they have not commissioned 1 cent to be spent on election integrity.
Hmm. Oh, wow.
That's because of the people that are on the committee. There are some up there that would like to see some money spent there, but they've got to have a majority.
They've got to have the leadership and
and they've got to have some leadership to restore confidence in our election system.
So
and the ones that are never Trumpers don't want that to happen.
So I want to emphasize on this, okay? So what he just said is, in the Republican National Committee, there's $86 million. That is our money, in a sense, that we've donated through all kinds of different ways, that is for our party, that our party is for the Constitution and all the things that are important, and not a dime has been allocated to election integrity, and that is because we don't have enough people and the right people in leadership, enough people for a majority, the right people in leadership to get it done, which goes all the way back to the fact that if you go and file and get on the ballot, then you have the ability to possibly, no lie, become one of these people, right? Or help the right person become one of those people. And multiple different levels, they come up, and then we could take that resource, that massive resource, and actually do something effective with it. So not only is it, let's just take the party back, let's also take control of $86 million that should be allocated the right way for us to do real work. What could we get done with that kind of money? Right? A small slice of that money, what could we get done? And I think it's what Ronna McDaniel, she was a stay-at-home mom, wasn't she, when she moved her way up? I mean, isn't it basically the fact that the same, like, it is theoretically possible that Brett going on Tuesday could end him up in the Republican National Committee one day?
Count on it.
Several years ago, I was talking about this during the Tea Party movement of 2010, where there was a big swing in votes after Obamacare was passed. Mm-hmm. And the Tea Party movement was launched, and I was going around telling people, we need to do this. We never got quite as many as we're starting to get now. But the phone rang one day, and a voice called up timidly and said, Mr. Putnam, do you think I could be a precinct committee woman? And I said, of course you could. And the next time I saw her, she was on the state committee.
Oh, wow.
This is just weeks later.
Right.
Incredible.
Because there was so much apathy in her county. She was in the St. Louis area. Her story's on my webpage also. She she wasn't always as timid with other people as she was on that phone call, and she was very excited and passionate about being elected to her precinct position. And somebody said, you should run for state committee, and she won the seat, one of 68 people or something in the state. Another guy went to his the first meeting he ever went to as a precinct committee man in Vernon County, and nobody wanted to be chairman.
Yep.
He became the chairman.
Yep. There's leadership. People are looking for leadership.
Yep.
There are so many people who want to do something, and there are so many people that are looking for someone to help lead them. Leadership begets action. Literally going and getting on this committee. You may think to yourself, "Oh, I don't want to do all that." That's fine, but we still need someone like you who cares enough to help get the right person there.
Absolutely.
So that we do have that authority. If you're tired of stuff like, like the gas tax, the Schatz tax, right? Or any of these horrible initiatives that these people are doing, you have so much more authority, so much more political clout, if you will, to be able to make an effective change. And not only that, to be in the know of what's going on. It blows my mind that you could literally, we could end up on the state or the national level one day. I mean, it's not something that's for them. It's not D1. Right. It's not D1 football. It's community football.
It is one Monday a month.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's the thing.
Actually, in most counties, not that often.
Oh, really?
Really? Well, in Platte.
It depends on the bylaws. Every county has their own bylaws.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Jackson changed theirs. They were once every 4 months.
Oh, no kidding.
And he was like, how do we get something done? Mark Anthony was like, how do we get something done? And then they changed it to monthly.
For years, we couldn't get a quorum in Jasper County. We lowered our quorum to 25% attendance.
Wow.
In order to pass some things that we needed to pass. Like if you want to, we changed our bylaws as we began to get more people interested in our precinct committee positions. We had some people that wanted to be in a spot that was already filled. So we created an assistant precinct committee position where a person could come and sort of shadow
That's
the
what
precinct.
we did. That's what Rooney did with precinct. He made him precinct captains. That's what I was first, and then moved into. He used that as the bench kind of thing.
Okay, that was the backup position.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in our bylaws, we wrote it so that if the first line person couldn't be at the meeting, they could give a proxy vote to the second one. Well, that helped build our committee strength without in precincts that had were more populous and had more interest. we still had a lot of empty seats,
right.
But they couldn't serve in them because they didn't reside in them.
Right.
So that was, I guess what I should sum up by saying is one of the first things you want to do in your county is ask for, and if necessary, demand a copy of the bylaws so that you can know how your committee functions.
Correct. It's something where you have to go out and you have to educate yourself. You have to take the initiative to learn these things. So I want to just kind of circle back on the word quorum, because I was one of those ignorant people that or just unlearned in that sense, that didn't know what quorum was back in just a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And what quorum means is having enough people out of the whole to actually do business.
Yes.
Right. So in other words, if I have 10 people, usually quorum is 6, right?
Or one more than a majority is usually the minimum quorum.
Right? Mm-hmm. So what he was saying is they didn't have enough people engaged at their meetings or showing up to the meetings to even do anything.
Correct.
Right. And so when we look at this, when we look at that circle that was created, right? So I'll do it real quick. I'll do it. So in the circle, there's the circle. It's basically a line and a half and then a third, right? And so this would be the conservatives or the real Republican patriots. Mm-hmm. And then over here, they call them moderates. I'm not going to call them that. I'm going to call them rhinos, because it's very clear what a conservative is or what a Republican should be based on our platform in Missouri. So this is all of the precinct committeemen in the United States, right? For the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. A quarter of it is conservatives. A quarter of it is rhinos. And in some places, not that many people involved are doing anything at all. But there's this whole space over here that's completely full or free. Vacant.
Yeah.
If we do this, we become the vast majority. And then things change. We have a couple rhinos in our committee.
Yes, we do.
We have some people, they're just old school, but they're powerless because we have enough Republican conservatives that he can't get sway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no sway there. So this is why it's so important. This is literally the year it could all change.
Exactly. And when the primary, I don't know if this is by state law or not, but so often people come to the primary and say, and think that is the first event of the election year. I should make the distinction that municipal elections are typically not run by the Republican Party. They're not a partisan election.
Right. So like school
most
board.
of the time. School boards and municipal
Mayors.
elections.
Yeah.
So the first real action that the public sees of an election year is in the August primary. Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't really start then. It started 5 months before then during the filing process, so you could be on the ballot in August.
Right.
And so often people come to the primary and say, how did these people get on the ballot? And it's too late then. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a provision to be appointed to a vacancy that we'll get into some other time. The reason we're really talking about this today is because we are in what's called the filing window.
Right.
The fifth Tuesday in February to the fifth Tuesday in to the last Tuesday in March is by statutory law in Missouri the period that you file for the August primary.
So is March 29th is the last day you can file?
That's the last day you can file. We've got all of next week and 2 more days in the following.
And I want to harp on something real quick because the timing is so important. Right? Yeah, you can go like what we all did based on the whole thing, the movement from Bannon, right? From Schultz and you all doing that through Bannon was go get on now. Right.
Yes.
And we went and got on and we started finding out, okay, this is what's going on. This is how it happens. But the reason why you got to go and file now or before by the 29th and go do it Monday or Tuesday or whatever, but do it as soon as possible is because you will then ensure that you are a part of the reorganizational process. If you decide, well, I'll just see if there's something left afterwards, and you go and you get appointed afterwards, you could be completely outside of the reorganizational process and basically useless in this call to action, because the whole point of this call to action is to be involved when the reorganization happens so that you can have a say and a possible opportunity to be a part of the next level, and the next level on up to the RNC, Republican National Committee leadership.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we talk about. To make that change, this is the first step.
This is a huge step.
And people need to understand every position. I had a gal ask me today, would she be joining a committee already established? And would she have any real influence over it? And I had to point out to her, no, it's a 2-year term. Everybody gets reelected. Now, there's an exception to that in a charter county that I'm not fully aware of. They serve some counties, I think it's St. Louis County, maybe St. Charles County. Over there, they serve a 4-year term because they're a different type of county. But there's 114 counties in Missouri. I don't think there's more than 3 of those counties that serve a 4-year term. And I do believe they also have to have a reorganizational election every 2 years. But all the other counties in Missouri, everybody serves a 2-year term. Everybody starts over fresh. You can walk in as a new person and you can nominate. You can be nominated to be chairman or vice chairman, serve in a position. There's a learning curve, and we don't expect everybody to jump right into those spots. But everybody starts off on an equal playing field on I think it's the 15th of August after the primary. That election happens, and we'll be talking more about that in the future.
Yeah, well, and for all those people out there who have been to your school board meetings, and you've been faithful and you showed up and you've really given
especially the ones that have been ignored.
100%. You show up and they push you around, tell you what to do or whatever they try to, but you've been faithful to this. You've showed up time and time again. You've formed parents associations, or you've been involved in parent associations. You have done all kinds of different stuff to try and affect change, and you've realized how hard it is to do that from the outside. This is your call to action.
You are now on the inside.
This is your call to action because you now have the ability and the influence to be able to make changes, right? Affect real change to get things done. Like we ranted last week with Senator Bratton's amendment that would have banned pornographic or obscene material from schools. It would have made it a crime for teachers to give this out, and that would have nipped all of that in the bud, right? Instead of having to go from county to county to county, right? It would have gotten rid of it. But we had rhinos who wanted to stand up and play a game and act like, oh, they're not sincere, right? This would give you the ability to call those people to account. And especially in an election year, move your committee and your funds toward someone who's actually going to stand up and do what's right. If you want to make a difference, if you want to affect change, and it's really not it's not a massive commitment of your time, it's just the fact of showing up and being educated in what you want to talk about and being firm. Go file by March 29th. At most, it costs you $25. In most places, it doesn't cost a dime. And in most places, you probably won't even have anybody against you. And if you do, we'll teach you later on down the line how to go about that. It's a very simple process. You're not going after all these people in the precinct. You're going after the people in the Republican Party who faithfully vote in the primary, which isn't everybody. So I think you were giving me the example that when you did it, there was 400 people in your precinct, but you only actually had to go after 100, and then won that 70-30.
Yeah, I've been challenged in 35 years on the Jasper County Committee. I've only had a challenger on 2 occasions.
Right.
Some folks in our county got a little tired of me being too conservative and messing with people like Senator Bond and things like that. And so they asked the county commissioner who lives in my precinct to file against me. And he was, of course, well known throughout the county.
Because he was the commissioner.
And had most people in most elections are elected by based on name recognition. But at this level, the difference is made if you go knock on a few doors, introduce yourself to people. I have a little brochure template that's got my picture, when to vote, what the job is, and the first thought, I'm going to have to go call on all my neighbors that live in my precinct.
Right.
No, only the registered voters. Oh, I got to call on all the registered voters in my precinct? No, actually not, because most of them don't vote in the primary. So the county clerk, by law, has a public list of who voted Republican in the last 2 or 3 primaries, and I simply asked for the list in my precinct. Out of 400 registered households in my precinct, only about 100 voted in the primary. I went to those 100 houses. Half of them weren't home, and I left a brochure. Half of them were. And on election day, I beat the county commissioner 70-30 because I showed up.
That's right.
He didn't show up.
That's right. That's right. And especially in a time where we're right now. I mean, if you think that that's too much to do, you're not serious anyways. I mean, really. Like we've got to we see what's going on. We see the administration that's happening. We see the fact that we've blatantly...
There's no pushback of this administration.
Right. And not even that, like all of the leadership in the Republican quote unquote leadership who has just sat on the sidelines and allowed these type of things to happen.
Yep.
You know, we have to take our party back, you know, a government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from this earth, right? The only reason it's not going to is if we take it by force. We have to go and take the rights that we've been given. We've been, you know, God has been good enough to give us a nation and codify our rights, put it into law. And if we do not exercise those rights, then no one is to blame but us. We have to get involved. There's 3,425 precincts in Missouri. That means...
No.
Huh?
Oh, precincts.
Yes, sir. Precincts. Okay. 3,425 precincts in Missouri times 2, because there's a committee man and a committee woman for every precinct, right? It's 114 counties. So there's 114 central committees. And then there's 163 legislative districts, so your House people, the House representatives. There's 34 senatorial districts, which are your state senators. And then there are 8 congressional districts, which are your U.S. Congress people. And, of course, when you're talking about the U.S. Senate, everybody has 2. So this starts at the 3,425 people level, you know, and moves in, you know, those people form the counties or the county committees, and then from there vote into the legislative districts, the senatorial districts, and then the congressional to the state level, correct? So let's talk about, so they go and they file and they get on, and then the first, what does the reorganization in a kind of an overview look like? What, once we come in and we're the Republican at the top, the township and the wards, once we come in, what's to be expected?
Well, that first meeting in August after the primary is a reorganizational meeting. The new members are sworn in. There is a set of some laws are brought to. I think in that case they call it the Rules Committee brings the rules for the meeting. Mm-hmm. The Nominating Committee brings is the place where you would get in line to make a nomination. The Credentials Committee checks people's credentials as they come in and verifies their authenticity to be there. Then there, I always call it the Tally Committee, the people that are going to count the votes as the election's being held. And those are basically the committees, all under the power of the chairman to be appointed. So if he wants to continue as chairman, there's a pretty good chance he's going to appoint people who will make sure that he continues in power. Mm-hmm. But if there is enough people in the on the committee that don't like the direction he's been taking it, that's where you would mount a challenge to his or her leadership and put in a new chairman and vice chairman to move the committee in a different direction. That's essentially what happens in the first meeting. There's a little bit of orientation for new members that goes on, job descriptions and training and things like that. But that kicks off the new election cycle that's going to carry through November and start to get organized groups that will turn out the vote, phone calling, phone banks, county headquarters where people can meet, hand out signs, hand out literature, and support the candidate that was nominated for state office, legislative, senatorial, and so forth. Those primary battles. Counties don't typically endorse going into the primary.
Right. But once it's done.
But we've got a situation down where I am where our state senator voted for a bill in the Missouri legislature that would allow men to participate in women's sports.
Right. And so sometimes you have to endorse somebody different.
We haven't got there to talk about what's going to happen in the primary there yet. But there's some real there's a lot of unhappy people about that in the Republican Party.
Well, that's a great point, because if you do have somebody like that, so we have we have a Bill White, we have a Lincoln Huff, we have Searpoint, we have Crawford, all these different people.
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean. I don't know if he's running this year or not.
He's forgettable.
Yeah, he is forgettable. Anyways, but you have these different people who have shown themselves to be absolute rhinos. I mean, turncoats as far as our Republican Party is concerned, and this is a wonderful time to be involved, to be able to make a change.
Just about the only time to really make a difference.
That's absolutely right.
If you're tired of yelling at your TV, yelling at the radio, cussing every time you go to the go fill up your tank, go to the grocery store,
go file.
I'll see you there.
Yeah.
I'm filing, you're filing.
Absolutely.
He's filing. Sam, he can't file yet. He's too young.
You have to be 21.
Right. But we're all filing. We're getting involved. This is the year, and we can.
Sam's 30.
3,000. What is it? 3,000.
3,000.
I don't know if we've mentioned that. You have to be a registered voter for 1 year in your
that
precinct.
Specific area.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's pretty much the only requirement, unless there's a filing fee.
Right.
Some counties have a form where when you file and tell them how you want your name to show on the ballot, on the back of that piece of paper or attached to that, you have to get 5 or 10 names of your neighbors that also live in your precinct to say, I really would kind of petition that this person be allowed to sign up as our committee man. That's the most extreme case of what's involved in filing. In my case, I just went down and signed a piece of paper.
So you're
No
saying
fees.
if someone hasn't been there for a year, there is maybe a possible way to petition to get them on, or
That's in the state law, so it's not going to be changed.
Gotcha. Okay.
But as soon as a person does make the 1 year mark in their residency, they can be appointed. Most committees have a way where a member of the committee can sponsor or nominate you to be added to a vacancy.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So one thing too. So here's some preliminary steps. So when you go in there, the most important thing is that you file and that you show up. Even if you file and you don't make it, you still better show up to your committee meetings, because there's still influence there, and you can still get involved in outside movements. There's a lot of people that we work with on a regular basis. We call them our base, the Missouri Rhino Watch base. Wonderful people, and 75% of them are not on the committee. Some of them will be this year, but they came in and there weren't vacancies, and so they stayed in, and then now they're coming into the opportunity where they can get on, and redistricting happened, so it's a little bit of a change there. But they have been more effective than a lot of the committee members.
Agreed.
And
they got involved by meeting us meeting them.
Right.
They see that, all right, they're fed up as well. We all have a common goal.
Correct.
Common enemy, I guess.
Right.
Common goal, more or less.
Both.
But we all wanted to do something, and look what we've been able to do.
Yeah. Well, and then like the We the People that you went to recently, like We the People in Greater Kansas City area. So We the People is another organization. I would highly recommend people look them up. Mm-hmm. They're a local movement, a statewide movement. It might be national, but I mean, it's a grassroots thing where it's like, okay, we may not be specifically committee members, but we want to do something. So We the People of X county. So Jackson County, I think there's the biggest one in the state. There's 300 people that meet on a regular basis. And then there's that you went to this past week was the We the People of the Greater Kansas City area. And this was their first meeting, and they had like 120 people show up. That's huge. We have a We the People of Platte County. It's not official. We actually just named it that and didn't realize that was happening because all this happened at the same time. But we want to make that too. That's kind of like our base thing. And so the point is be involved in the committee. Even if you can't get on the committee to vote, you still need to know what's going on. There's still a lot of people that have influence, like Nancy Felix.
Yep.
She has a lot of influence. Her husband's on the committee. She's not on the committee, but she runs the Republican Women's Federation, right? I think I got that right.
Women's Wrestling Federation.
Right. Federated Women of Republicanism. But she has all kinds of different people come, like our state senator comes there. She had Mark McCloskey come recently. Yep. She has all kinds of. She's
potential
such
friend
a
of the
doer.
show.
Yeah, potential friend of the show. Mark, I gotta call you, Mark. I gotta call you. But point being is be involved in that. That is the crux. That's the starting point. But absolutely file. If down the line you don't get in because of whatever reason, fine. Show up. If you haven't been there a year, still show up and get involved. And some things to look into. Find your committee bylaws. Should be easy to find. Well, sometimes it is. Ours are on our website, I believe. And then
That's unusual.
Mr. Rooney was definitely a trendsetter. But you can find the bylaws even if you show up at the meeting. Show up now, right? You can still go to these meetings even if you're not filing yet. It's a great time to get involved.
You could ask for them. Just ask for them.
Yeah.
Watch them sweat.
Right. Can I have a copy of the bylaws? And a lot of the times these people want to give them to you. Like
Correct.
it's either people who have just been holding up the base for a long time that are tired and are looking for people to come in with interest to do something.
We were welcome.
We were
with open
welcomed.
arms.
Yeah.
We absolutely were.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point. Even if you're upset with your committee, the way to get started is to not walk in and start railing
Correct.
on what they've been doing.
Correct.
Especially if you haven't been there and you don't really know.
Yeah.
My wife is the hardest working person I know. She serves everybody. And when we got involved, she was at everything, helping everyone. I was too, because we went together.
Right.
But she is known for pitching in and helping. Well, would have been logical to make her chairman when the vacancy opened up.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want to do it, and that's probably why I got the nod. But the point is that service is the path to leadership.
Right.
Not we really don't want to do hostile takeovers.
Agreed. Well, but at the same time,
We will.
right.
If we have
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he said. This is like Jefferson said. This is our mechanism to crush regularly the corrupt and perverted government in a peaceable way, without having to worry about insurrection. Right. And that's exactly what we want to do. If we take up arms, we've lost.
Yeah. We don't want it to come to that.
No, never.
We're far from that.
We
anyway.
really are. But they want it to come to that.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep us away from all
We're
these
going to do it
things.
this way.
This is the right way.
Where
This
they
is
have
what
no
they
power.
gave us.
Yes.
This is what our founders, who were led by God, truly led by divine providence, to create this system to allow us to come back and to take this over time and again. And so find out about the bylaws. Start showing up at your election or your committee meetings. Find out about the bylaws. Get the Republican handbook. Is that right? That is that what we say?
I'm not aware of one unless your committee has
or is it the committee
has built
handbook?
something.
Okay. So bylaws, I guess I'm probably conflating those, but the bylaws of the committee, and then study up. There's actually a lot of stuff out there on it. Robert's Rules of Order, right? So this is the speak that you say like, oh, do I have a motion to pass? And yes,
Point
I
of order.
second it. Oh, point of order. Yeah,
That's
I'm
the main one
reclaiming-
right there.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Point of personal privilege, point of order. If the chairman starts railroading or starts running something through, typically they will, in order to speed up the meeting on a reorganizational meeting, they will. Someone will suggest that we nominate a slate of candidates and elect all four positions at the same time, whereas the bylaws typically calls for
One at a time, or
one
whatever.
nomination, candidates for nomination speak. There's usually not too many people running, but so they will call for a voice vote to suspend the law, the rules, and then things get going in a direction where people don't know.
Right.
And that's when you stand up and say, point of order, point of personal privilege.
Right.
And you stop the train running down the tracks and bring it back to where you can actually know what's going on.
Right, and this is a very important. So I was watching, C-SPAN, because no one watched C-SPAN until Trump got into office.
It is
right?
C-SPAN.
But
the hour is 5:00.
But the point is I've been watching these committee meetings and hearing them do this back and forth, and I obviously can tell that there's some type of structure to a meeting, but I had no idea it was. So I'm over here like trying to look up verbiage from a committee meeting, and I can't find it anywhere. It was the most. It was really frustrating because I could not figure out what it was, and the word is Robert's Rules of Order, or of order for order. I guess it really does. Robert's Rules. If you can look that up, you'll find everything.
You'll find it.
And they have videos on it. They have breakdowns that are really complicated. They also have Robert's Rules of Order simplified. The fact of the matter is we have to understand what this is. This gives us the mechanism, the power to do what needs to be done, because what's happened, especially in the Republican Party for this long time, is they consider you ignorant, and they will do whatever they feel is necessary to get it done. Their privilege comes from the information that they have that we don't. And when we come in educated, just look it over. Watch a couple videos, spend an hour or two, get with friends, get your Patriot friends together and say, hey, let's sit down and let's discuss Robert's Rules of Order, and educate yourself and bring it to the committee meeting instead of being beholden or dependent on anyone else to teach you how to do something, right? So bylaws, Robert's Rules of Order, you can get the Robert's Rules of Order you can do tonight. Or through the weekend, whatever. You can start learning this stuff. You can start going through it. We're going to make a video. I don't know. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, all
We're
right.
going to make a video about it. We're going to try and make it fun. We're going to absolutely have Mr. Putnam back as many times as possible to make sure that we're setting this tone and educating in depth on all these things. But the action items that you all need to do now is show up to your committee meeting, find out when they are. You can search, if you haven't found your committee yet, get online, and what I searched was Platte County Republican Committee, and they're called central committees, correct?
Yes, that's typically
right. So you can even, like I've done in Florida. I got my cousin who just got appointed. I literally called him. I said, bro, you've got to get this done. He did it that day. He sent me a screenshot of a text where it's like, hey, we'll appoint you in April. Come on. You know what I mean? Because there's a vacancy there. And so, but I just typed in, the Republican Party in said county.
Search 3 different possibilities.
Okay.
Your county Republican club.
Okay.
More specifically, your county Republican Central Committee.
Yep.
And then many people who are not to the point where they can keep a web page up to date will have a county Republican Facebook page.
Correct. I've seen that too.
Some people prefer not to use that, but those are the 3 best places to look for your committee.
Yep.
And then if you want to know who's currently serving on your committee, there is a page on the Secretary of State's office under publications called the Official Missouri Manual. Now, before we close, I want to mention that anyone who goes to my Precinct Patriot page
just about to say that,
and scrolls down to the bottom, there's a little form there, and I will send you links to all of those places so that you don't have to do. I can't send you a link to every county's Republican club or Facebook page, but the Secretary of State's page, a simplistic approach to Robert's Rules of Order, where your election office is, those kind of links, and a simple procedure for what to do from here, written in a list.
I actually have it
easy. He just made it easy for everybody.
I actually have it saved as unread because I still want to go back and read everything that you sent me. And it has literally, I was like, oh, here's all the other stuff, because there's also principles, right? There's also liberty principles that we need to be educated on that we can implement.
That's on a tab called Getting Grounded.
Right. Right. So, I mean, his website truly, and I'm going to put, so everybody knows, I'm going to put his website on our website. So you'll be able to go to the Patriot action items. You will see Putnam's Patriots is what I'll title it. You click the button, and it'll say something like, the button will say like "Get Patriot-y" or something like that. Word of the week. Anyways,
reaching on that one.
It'll say something like that, but it will have your logo on it. It will say Putnam's Patriots. You will be able to find it and go directly to there. His resource pages. I kid you not. I've been searching this for like 9 months. And I've gotten the most information out of your website. So kudos and thank you very much for that website and all of that amazing content. Because this is not just like, information. It's applicable. It's stuff that you can take and turn into actual action and do things that are going to make a difference. And also feel, the more educated you are, the better you feel about what you're getting involved in. I hate getting involved in something where I don't know what I'm doing. That's the worst thing in the world. That's the easiest way to become timid and fearful. So go there.
It's like my test in high school.
Right. Every test.
Putnam's
Patriots. Okay, Putnams, Patriots. If you don't know how to spell Patriots, I'm not going to talk to you. But anyways, Putnam's Patriots. And then you can also go to the website. It's not there yet. It will be there as soon as Sam gets the internet fixed.
Sam broke the internet.
He was like, everything's fine. And then he was like,
great.
the internet's not working. So we're actually running.
And we're going on.
We're actually running off
5.
of Jeannie Franco's her phone. It's her hotspot. Yeah, her camera. So, by the way, Jeannie Franco is an amazing photographer. Right?
Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor. Ding. But she is in here taking excellent photos.
Yep.
And if you want to know more about her, you can follow her on Instagram at Fran, FRAN.co.20. Okay, so @fran.co.20, and she does excellent work. In fact, we will put her on the website as a part of the Grassroots Army.
Excellent.
Because
now that you got that out, let's ask her
not?
if she wants to be mentioned on the show.
Do you want to be mentioned on the show, Jeannie?
She said no. Okay,
she said no.
Perfect.
Forget everything I said. But anyways, we're going to put everything on your website. We'll make some more videos. We are going to have you back. We're not going to have an episode this coming Friday. So what is that?
A week from today.
5th.
Upcoming Friday's today.
No. It's in March yet. It's the 25th of March.
Right, the 25th. Upcoming. It means it's coming up, not here.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right? Upcoming.
Yeah, but what if someone's not
Friday.
watching this live?
March 25th, we will not be having a show because we will be in Louisville, Kentucky doing some things. But we will be coming back on April 1st with Mr. Andy Wells, who is the president of Take a Stand Now, Missouri chapter. Or I'm sorry. No, it's not. That's Brittany Hartzell. He is the president of No Left Turn in Education for the Missouri chapter. I apologize to both of you.
It's going to be a wonderful show.
It is. He's going to go in depth. This guy has so much info. Yes, it is. That's true. But we're going to have you come back even more after that. So, Andy, you better do good if you want to come back.
Do well.
Do well. Good is right. Well is how you feel. Oh, yes. I absolutely will get to that. So, anyways, he will be on the next show. The whole purpose of this next show is to get everybody fired up and ready for the municipal elections. I should have just said school board. I tried to be educated like you, and it didn't work. The school board elections and mayors and municipal.
April 5th, folks.
April 5th.
Very important.
It's super important. Probably like
a lot of important things going on.
A lot of important stuff. This is an important year. But we will have him on because he has such an in-depth understanding of all the different things that are wrong in our school systems right now. And he said a really good thing because I'm an advocate for getting out of the school systems and starting our own thing. But he said, you know what? Only 10% of the kids in school in the state aren't in the public school system. And even if half of them leave, you still have 40% left, right? And so every one of these kids deserve a better education and deserve the right. So one of the biggest things we have to do is win back our school boards. So April 5th is going to be the election day, but that prior Friday, we will have an episode devoted to all of the malfeasance and just craziness going on in our school system so that you will be upset enough to show up and vote, and that hopefully you will
fired up to vote.
Fired up and tell a bunch of other people to vote. Now, before we move into the last little bit that Sam keeps trying to tell me to tell about, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell.
Oh, ding.
Thank you. And then I wanted to make sure that you got the last words as far as before I go into the sponsorship, sir.
Okay, let me cite the origin of the representative election process. We could even say of the precinct committee man.
Okay.
This goes back 4,000 years. Wow. Okay. This is Jethro talking to Moses.
Moses' father-in-law.
Moses' father-in-law in Exodus 18, 21 through 23. Moses, if you recall, was covered up with too many people
Like
wanting him
3
to settle
million?
disputes.
3 million or something like that.
And Jethro pulled him aside and he said, Moses, select out of all the people able men who fear God,
Amen.
love truth, and hate coveting. Place these over the people as leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and tens. Let them judge the people at all times. Let it be that every major dispute they bring to you, but every minor dispute they themselves will judge. If you will do this, as God commands, you will be able to endure, and all these people will go to their places in peace.
Amen.
So that is the first time we ever see this idea of a precinct committee person in operation.
Amen. That's absolutely right. That is amazing. It's a wonderful. I read that on your site, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because that needed to be said very much. Mr. Putnam, I truly appreciate all the work that you've done, the fact that you've been willing to come out here, and you've been busy, taking on all these different people that have reached out to his website. And just know we want to be a resource in this for Mr. Putnam and for everybody else. So if you reach out and you need help on how to find your committee or how to get involved or whatever, he has all the resources. I'm telling you, as far as like the step-by-step way to go. If you need somebody to talk to help you figure it out, you can call me. My number's on the website. You can email us. And anybody that emails, you can find us on Facebook Messenger too, chats on the YouTube channel. Whatever the case may be, reach out to us, and I will absolutely spend my time Googling, DuckDuckGoing, whatever it is that needs to be braving. Yes, I like that better. Braving anything that needs to be looked up so that I can help you all. We can help you all. I'm going to make Brett do it too.
Man.
Find it, because it's truly easy, but at the same time, if you haven't trekked that or traversed that area, it's a little bit intimidating or frustrating. So be more than happy to help. You have a bunch of resources with what Mr. Putnam's done, with what we're willing to do, and then all of you out there who are listening have already signed up and done this. This is your other call to action to go be a leader by service. Like you said, the way to leadership is through service. So make sure you're getting out there and you're doing that.
Josh, your ability to record this in a format where people can come and look at it later is a tremendous help, so that people can get an audio. Some people learn auditorially. Some people auditory, I think is the word. Visually, some people read. This is a tremendous help to me. I can just say, well, go watch our program.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And really thank Two Gender Studios for that.
That's
because
right.
If it wasn't for Sam Johnson the Magnificent, we would not have this amazing studio. We wouldn't have these mics that make us sound so crispy and clean, as well as all of these. Dude, Sam has been a blessing from God for sure. So thank you, Sam. Seriously.
Oh, not me, the viewers.
And the viewers, of course. And the viewers out there on Apple and Spotify, listeners. Gosh, because you're not really watching. Listeners, if you would 5-star this, if you think we deserve it, 5-star this. That way it goes up in the rankings and comes up in the recommendations. I want to let them make that decision.
Well,
this is
no, I know.
capitalism.
Well, maybe they
This
could.
is capitalism.
If they made it this
If
far.
you made it this far, 5-star it.
Five star.
And we deserve it. You deserve it.
Yeah.
I spent all this time listening to a 5-star podcast. I mean, would you feel right if you were listening to a 4-star podcast? No. You'd be like, I wasted my time. Anyways,
Need better hobbies.
we do. Oh, they
No,
do.
they do.
They do.
They're listening to a
This is
4-star
great hobby.
podcast? Yeah.
Right. You're right. Who
They're
does that?
moderately
Who does that?
entertained.
Okay, so Putnam's Patriots, it will be on the website. So will F Photography, which is Frankie. Or Jeannie Franco. Frankie. Frankie. That's your new nickname. Anyways, and then also one of our amazing sponsors. I wish where do you have your thing? You don't have it, do you?
Trailer.
So let's mow Brandon. From the same great people who brought you Let's Go Brandon Christmas Lights.
Yeah. Oh, they're the same people?
They are.
Uh-huh.
They are the same brain.
Wow.
Same brain.
Wow.
We now have, because the season's here, Let's Mow Brandon. And if you see the ad, it is absolutely amazing.
It is fantastic.
Facebook didn't like it.
I just got it.
Yes.
MOW.
Yes.
MOW,
Yes.
that's
Yes. We told it.
Yeah.
Because you're no mo
Right.
rhinos.
Oh, I get it.
And I was seeing that in my head.
Multiple different facets. Yeah.
Okay.
Sam's like, I checked all.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was
boxes.
French. MEAU.
No.
Okay.
No. So instead of Let's Go Brandon, Let's Mow Brandon. and the visual is hilarious. It's actually you'll look for it, you'll see
He
it,
got
you'll
the
love
president
it. He did.
to yeah.
He got the president out with with a short
Jeannie
sleeve
took his
shirt.
picture.
Jeannie took the picture, and he was mowing the grass. It's Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon,
Yeah.
and he's got a tattoo on his forearm of Barack Obama. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. So,
Very
anyways,
Sartoro.
this dude is a very hard worker. He does Let's Go Brandon
Sam.
Christmas Lights. Yes, Let's Go Brandon Christmas Lights. Let's Mow Brandon, and he also does Two Ginger Studios and KC Podcast Studios.
Yes. Yeah.
The magnificent Sam Johnson.
Sam the Glam didn't stick.
And no, Sam the Glam didn't.
It
Sounds like a
rhymes.
clam.
Sam the Clam.
Sam the Glam clam.
He clams up.
All right, the last call to action, go file by the 29th of March to become a committee person in your precinct. Look up your election authority, call them, and figure out where you can do that. When do you do it? You do it right now. Actually, really Monday, but still right now, because it may be Monday when you're listening to this. And then we can reclaim the GOP. Remember, there's 50% of it is vacant. We could take it over and be a vast majority. It all has to do with you. Overnight. God bless you all. Thank you again, Mr. Putnam, for being here. Thank you, Jeannie.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Sam.
Thank you,
Good night,
Josh.
guys.
Thanks, everybody.